Hello and welcome to Movie Film Studios, the only podcast that takes you inside the mind of two film studio executives as we unravel and then re-ravel the best that Hollywood has to offer. I'm Isaac.
And I'm AJ, and this week we were taken on a cruise and fed enigmatic clues as to the location of Dracula's clock. As always, we'll be crafting one or more of these trailers into our own completely original film. But before we bring you something new, it's first time for something old as we check in on last week's feature film in Box Office Report.
Yeah, last week we started making the film Blank Bridge, Blank Blank.
That's the one.
And as you may expect, it's not finished yet.
Yeah, this film was, what, a 15 or 20 year production?
It is from now until our deaths.
Yep.
We are filming once per year, every year, with the same group of kids.
Yep.
I was actually a little bit surprised that this... and now we make a lot of jokes in this program. The adoption program... It's actually really, really difficult.
Is it?
Yeah, like
Okay.
just, I mean, we have to legally adopt these. We were trying to get around it.
I thought we were going to get around it.
We were.
Okay.
We've been advised that it's not possible.
Oh.
That's only possible up until, this is why Boyhood ended when the kid turned 18. Because
okay.
beyond
Yep.
that point, Richard Linklater had no claim on him. The parents couldn't sign a contract.
Yep.
But if we legally adopt them when we can sign a contract which
Right.
passes the age of 18
Okay.
and maintain legal rights, they have to perform in our film. Because,
Right, okay.
I mean, if they turn 18 and go, oh, we've done this all of our lives, I'm sick of it.
Yep.
What legal recourse would we have had if they weren't our own children?
I don't know.
Yeah, the adoption
Process, yeah.
process. Yes, thank you. I was progress, princess, prontest. Prontest isn't even a word. The adoption process, really difficult, really hard. Not making any jokes about it. We haven't even started.
So we haven't started?
Haven't even started the process
gosh.
yet.
Oh, man.
We sat down with some of the writers to start writing the scripts.
Yep.
And each section's only 30 seconds long because if it's going to be 30 years where it's all a guess. It's all a great big guess. It could go anywhere.
Right, okay.
This is the problem. Do you realize last week we actually sat down to try and make a comedy? And instead we made this sort of Boyhood Tree of Life epic.
I remember all the films you were bringing up in terms of stuff that's related to what we were trying to make. None of them were comedies.
Not a single one.
All of them were high-end dramas that most people probably haven't seen, because I certainly haven't.
I don't think we're cut out for making comedies.
No.
I think, each studio has its own sort of little niche.
Yeah.
And there's things that studios do well. We've tried to do comedies. None of them have turned out comedies. I just...
No, but here's the thing. Do comedies ever get massive recognition around the world from critics and audiences alike?
No.
Never. You never get a film that's critically acclaimed and the audience loves it that is a comedy.
Yep.
It just doesn't happen anymore.
Better, more than critical acclaim,
Yep.
box office earnings.
Box office earnings,
What are the highest films ever earning? They're all your big action, superhero,
Yep.
Titanic,
Yep.
romance, Avatars.
Exactly.
Star Warsy.
Yep.
Minions. I think Minions is sixth highest grossing film of all time or something like that.
Oh, God.
Astounding.
Yep.
None of them are comedies. I reckon I'm not saying throw in the towel, because if at first you don't succeed, find something that's much easier that earns you a lot more money.
Exactly.
I think as the old saying goes.
Yep. I think we're going to do some mini-series or something, 10-minute comedy shorts. We can chuck them on the platform.
I think so. What was that short-lived Vine?
Yeah.
Where we had 6 seconds?
Yeah. Let's bring back Vine.
I reckon we can cut our teeth and try and make some 6-second comedy films, and then we go from there to YouTube, and from then YouTube to Twitch, I want to say, is another streaming platform. I don't really know what you do on Twitch. And then from Twitch to half-hour TV, TV to hour TV.
Yep.
And then we work our way up to feature.
To feature film,
because wading into that pool at the feature ends and not really knowing how to swim it's not bode well for our comedy.
We can't do it via the MASH approach, where we make the film first and then the TV series. We have to do it the other way around, like a whole bunch of other failed TV show to movie sitcoms that... Hang on, I'm trying to think of some now.
Yeah, I mean, The Simpsons is the only one that, South Park did TV to movie.
And it's always... Futurama did a couple.
Futurama did feature length.
Yeah.
There was TV specials. They didn't get a theatrical release.
True.
But they're all comedy, TV animated comedies. Maybe that's our problem.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have gone animated.
Yeah.
Next time we'll learn our lesson.
Get Macaulay Culkin back in his motion capture suit and make something comedic.
That's not how you it's not going to be.
That's right. Yeah,
that's,
we can't.
We're not 3D. These, I think, the other thing is these are all 2D.
2D, yeah.
Or cut out, or something nice animated, not this 3D soulless bullshit that keeps getting churned out.
Speaking of soulless 3D bullshit,
that is a very, very good segue
This week in trailers with Hotel Transylvania 3 Summer Vacation. Not a new National Lampoon film, unfortunately, but the third film in the Sony Animation Studios Hotel Transylvania series, of which I've not seen any of them, and I have no idea what any of them are about. I know that it stars Adam Sandler and his motley crew of actors, David Spade,
Kevin James,
Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, he's in this one as well.
And a bunch of others.
I think Selena Gomez plays the daughter. Yep. I believe, and this is context clues from the trailer we've watched and the Wikipedia page we read through. That
Did we read it though? I think we skimmed.
Hotel Transylvania is like a holiday retreat with an eclectic sort of werewolves and monsters.
Yeah.
And it's a family where it's the daughter and the Adam Sandler Dracula dad and the werewolf grandfather and the weird tentacle monsters. It's like if Adam's family were like, instead of just being creepy and kooky, were the storybook monsters of the 1800s. Yeah,
exactly. Maybe this is the next film in the Dark Universe project.
Possibly. One step closer to winning my bet. And so the premise of this one is that they must have done, I think the first one is the Hotel Transylvania, and it's the antics in the hotel.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember a poster for number 2, and maybe a new kid, like a baby, had come along, and it was the baby causing mayhem. And this is, where do we take the franchise? On a cruise trip. And so the Summer Vacation is them going on a cruise ship. The twist is that the captain of the cruise ship is the granddaughter of Van Helsing, who, if you've read the novels or know any of the lore, is a vampire hunter. And she's trying to kill Dracula, and he has fallen for her, and it's weird romance. Who knows? Comedy, surely.
The Summer Vacation is the kind of trope that a whole bunch of old American sitcoms used to do. So when the writers had completely run out of ideas for this, family situational comedy like Family Ties or Family Matters as well. I'm sure that was one of them.
I actually think it's where the term jumping the shark comes from, where the Fonzie and his friends go to like a beach location and he's skiing and he uses his skis to go over a ramp and jump a pool that has a shark in it.
Exactly.
So like literally this summer vacation trope is where the term jumping the shark comes from, where it's where the writers have run out of ideas and have taken the show in a direction that was just like, why did you do this? It should have just left it as it was.
It's not even that it's maybe not even the show has run out of ideas. It's more like, let's have a holiday somewhere, because they usually shoot on location as well. So it's like 95% of the show is shot on sound stages, and you can clearly tell that it's a set somewhere. And then they do these summer vacation specials, and they're all outdoors. The film stock looks completely different to how the show usually looks, and it's just like, it's just like, we've run out of ideas, but also we'd like a nice little break.
That's a good excuse if you're a TV show and
exactly.
you're shooting live action. This is 3D animated. To be fair, I think Adam Sandler and his friends just take vacations 11 months of the year. And then it's like, we've got a month, and they churn out 3 sort of semi-watchable but normally quite garbage films. So,
well, I think Adam Sandler has commented on this about, people kind of complain about his films, and rightly so. They're mostly terrible. But he's like, mate, I'm sure he said mate, but it's like, if you had the opportunity to just sit back, make like a couple of films a year with your mates.
Yeah, exactly.
Why wouldn't you?
That is literally the premise of Grown Ups. I'm just going to have fun with my friends. Guaranteed to earn $10 million at the box office. Costs us $3 million to make. $7 million tidy profit every single time.
Great. So see Hotel Transylvania. I don't know when. I don't care. It looks rubbish.
I mean, so many of these animated franchises are like at their 3rd or 4th film by now. Despicable Me did a 3rd film last year.
And they did a spin-off as well, didn't they? Didn't they do a Minions one?
I talked about Minions earlier as being one of the highest grossing films of all time. The Madagascars get to about 3.
God.
I mean, the good thing is that they get to 3 and then they seem to die a very quiet and undignified death. So we can only hope that this happens for Transylvania.
Because Cars is at 3 now, so hopefully they won't do another one of those.
Planes and Fire and Rescue, I think, was the second one. So their spin-offs even sort of like growing in and taking over.
But does this rule only apply for like animated films? Because the Fast and the Furious is up to like 9 or something now, isn't it?
Only bad kids animated films don't have this rule of 3. Although you mentioned the next big kids animated film to come out, maybe Incredibles 2.
Yep.
So
you see that's probably going to be good.
Yeah,
we can hope.
Think about Finding Dory and see how, and think about Cars 2 and think about how Pixar does sequels.
Yep. All right. Fair enough. We will see. As I said, Hotel Transylvania. Go see. Don't see it. Just don't.
Don't see it unless you've got kids and you need to plonk them in front of the TV.
Yeah.
And
if you're a bad parent.
I don't know. I think the bright, shiny colours and distracting images for an hour and a half while you get a well-earned cup of tea break.
No. Just raise them on the same thing I was raised, and that is the raunchy Monty Python films, the Marx Brothers, and horrendously violent and racist Warner Brothers cartoons. You'll be fine. You'll be totally fine.
Trailer number 2 this week is a little film called Under the Silver Lake.
Yes, starring Andrew Garfield, once again playing someone he shouldn't be playing in terms of his age. He's playing what looks like a
16, 17-year-old, maybe?
Yeah. Only he's now like 30. He's older than we are, I think.
Maybe that's a little bit young. He's definitely playing like this is his first romance. Sort of, maybe early 20s.
Yep.
It's by the director of It Follows, the really spooky one, whose name is apparently David Robert Mitchell.
That is correct.
Or maybe that's 3 people's first names.
Possibly.
It's impossible to tell. And basically, he has this sort of one night with a girl. They're in a motel, potentially. She's swimming. They interact. And then in the morning, he goes to visit her and she's packed up and just completely disappeared.
Yeah.
And he starts looking for her, and it's sort of in the vein of like a conspiracy theory, or even the Number 23 was a film with Jim Carrey where he started seeing meaning in everything.
Yes.
And so Andrew Garfield's like, there's codes and clues, and she's leaving me secret messages, and I have to decipher them.
Yep.
There's this sort of weird paranoia sort of thing going on.
Just to clarify as well, while the Number 23 with Jim Carrey was definitely more of a psychological thriller / horror film, this is the kind of indie slacker romance, quirky,
but I still think
thing.
It's got paranoia,
with
horror,
slight,
over the top
with
of it as
overtones.
Well.
Yes.
You are right. Indie slacker. Number 23, paranoia, psychological. I mean, the director did It Follows. If he's going to do psychological torment,
fair enough. I don't know.
Who knows?
I didn't get the sense from that trailer. I just saw Andrew Garfield looking like he was stoned most of the time, sort of wandering around, pining for this girl who was the girl of his dreams.
I just don't know how it's going to plan. Like, is he going to discover that the paranoia is actually true and there were coded messages everywhere?
Yep.
Is he going to discover that he's wasting his whole time? I think like the entire film hinges on how they conclude it.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to find out because I'm not going to watch this film. Interestingly enough, I think you pointed out when we looked at the Wikipedia page, also Tobey Maguire in this.
Yeah.
So
Topher Grace.
Topher Grace. Oh, I thought Tobey Maguire.
No.
It was somewhat.
It is still a Spider-Man reunion of sorts, but not quite the.
Not quite. I think we should probably do that at some stage.
I think you should,
just get all the discarded Spider-Man into a film together, and
so when the new kid, I've forgotten his name now.
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, yeah. Once he gets rejected for the next shiny thing, once Sony says, right, we're done with this.
Donald Glover in as well, because I think there was a really big internet push at one stage to get him to play Spider-Man.
So is just like theoretical Spider-Man and rejected Spider-Man?
Yep.
Okay.
The guy who did the voice in the Amazing Spider-Man animated series, who no one knows what he looks like.
Is he still alive?
I don't know.
That animated series was from the 80s, wasn't it?
Sure. Mark Hamill's still...
That's true.
Oh, no.
Mark Hamill, yes.
He only died in the movie of Star Wars. He didn't die in real life.
Yeah. Anyway. So see that. I don't even know when. We should keep an eye on this, but we won't. All right. Trailer number 3, the final one for this episode, is... The House with a Clock in Its Walls, which sounds very much like a movie film studio's film title.
Yeah, like they spent a lot of time trying to come up with something that made sense and then just couldn't and just went, this'll have to do. We can't spend any more time on the film title.
Now, I have no idea what this film was about. So it's some kind of weird fantasy, slight horror kids film. Yeah. With shades of Hugo, the Martin Scorsese film from a few years back. There's a little bit of Pan's Labyrinth is in there too. A little bit of Pan's Labyrinth.
Spiderwick Chronicles.
A bit of Spiderwick, a bit of Narnia, a bit of the old Spielberg sprinkle charm.
Yeah.
And also a nice big helping of Cate Blanchett and Jack Black.
And Jack Black. So, you see that they are the two people in this film, and I really thought Jack Black was going to be the star in a very sort of Goosebumps style old spooky house.
Yeah.
But he's actually just sort of like the quirky parent.
Yes.
Who plays alongside Cate Blanchett's also quirky parent. And the story is told from the perspective of a young adult boy, maybe 12 to 14, maybe.
Yeah.
And he's now living in a house that has all these quirky gizmos and gadgets and steampunk
and creatures
levers
as
and
well.
There's like octopus monsters. There's books that are written instead of in straight lines or in swirls, and you have to twist it as you read it. There's telescopes that reflect the moon, and when you touch the reflection, there's sparkly, glowy stuff that happens, and so. And there's a constant ticking from in the walls somewhere, and there's like a wind-up clock that we have to keep it ticking, or bad stuff happens. Yeah. Or if it's ticking bad stuff, I can't remember what happens. Bad stuff happens.
Yeah.
It's a weird, creepy, kooky house. It's kind of like we watched a trailer a number of months ago called Winchester, the house that ghosts built.
Yep.
And this is like
the prequel.
If that film was instead somewhat whimsical kids film, it would be a house with clocks all over the walls.
Yeah,
or
if
whatever.
Steven Spielberg in his like Hook days was directing Winchester, the house with 1,001 ghosts in it, it would be this film.
So is this a Spielberg directed film?
It's not
by Amblin. So he's got some sort of.
He'd be EP for sure
EP,
on this one. It actually this is the kind of film that feels like it was a book at some point.
It very much feels like,
and all the scenes that you're seeing in it are like the kind of scenes that would really appeal to people that have read the book. To anyone else, including the two of us, it's just an utterly bizarre mess of scenes. I had no idea what was going on with it. Directed by Eli Roth. There you go. Who did...
He did all of the really weird horror films. He did do Conjuring and Slash Me in Half and
Cabin Fever, the Hostel.
Yeah, there you go.
He did.
He was in Inglourious Bastards as the Bear Jew, I believe.
Yep. He did Death Wish as well.
Oh, there you go.
With
Tarantino.
No, that was Death Proof. And he also did that too. He was an actor in that.
Okay.
Anyway. He's done a lot of like very schlocky horror films.
So he's a legitimate. So this is a horror director's foray into kids films, strange kids films.
I don't know. According to my sources at the Academy, this is based on the novel of the same name. So there you go. It is a book. So
it just feels like it. I kind of feel like that's like a Hollywood go-to. Is just like. They're just perusing the bookshelves. I can see Hollywood executives with a trolley in a bookstore.
Yep.
And the shop attendant's like, we don't have trolleys in bookstores. It's just like, I got to get some movie ideas. Move away. Just like with the arms waving, just knocking anything that they can possibly into the trolley.
Yep.
Going, we have to come up with something.
Yep. Can I also just comment on the utterly bizarre casting duo that is Cate Blanchett and Jack Black?
Yeah.
Again... This sounds like the kind of cast that we would come up with because they're the only two actors we know.
Exactly, and it just doesn't feel like in any way that they should be agreeing to do the same film.
Yeah, and of course Cate Blanchett is doing some kind of accent because I think she's just contractually obligated to use anything but her actual accent in a film. But Jack Black seems to be doing his... Again, it's very much like the Goosebumps film he was in. It's that kind of like Jack Blacky shtick. And then, playing against Cate Blanchett, who is, if I'm not mistaken, and my sources at the Academy will confirm this, and an Academy Award winner.
Yes. Yeah, very much
Jack
so.
Black's in a, comedy rock metal band duo in Tenacious D.
Sure.
Like, what? Anyway, The House with a Clock in Its Walls is out in September, I think, in the US.
Yeah. Take your kids to see it, or maybe don't. If it's by Eli Roth, who knows? Legitimately no idea.
This could be like Pan's Labyrinth. It's sort of like, the trailers make it look, again, really whimsical and
kids
kind of fun.
Film.
You go there, horrifying.
And then a Gestapo general beats a guy's head in with a bottle halfway through the film, and you're like, should have expected that from Eli Roth. I'm sorry, my 8-year-old kid who is now forever traumatized by what you've just witnessed on film.
All right, there are the 3 trailers for this week's episode. So now I believe it's time to bung them all into the pot and stir them up and see what comes out. See what kind of original stew comes out of this mix.
Got to let it simmer for just a little bit.
Indeed we do. So while we leave it to simmer, let's head off into the green room.
Let's go. right. So I believe I chose last week, so you're up this week.
I am.
So
let's review.
We have the third installment of a very mediocre kids animated monster film.
Yep.
We have a indie slacker paranoia conspiracy film.
Yep.
And we have a kids horror
fantasy something or other. This is a very eclectic mix of films this week, I have to say. But there really is only one clear winner in my mind, and that is the third installment in a horrible animated film series in Hotel Transylvania 3. So that is what we will be taking and cooking with today.
I like it. We got in trouble with the Academy last year for not actually properly 3D animating. Instead, we just did motion capture and didn't actually do anything with it.
So we should have listened to Andy Serkis when he warned us about the Academy overlooking stuff like motion capture.
Exactly. So this time I think we do a proper animation and then just guarantee ourselves an Oscar nomination.
Yes. Yep. Now, I think what we should do is do the third film in the series.
This is we have to start at a point where the franchise is already tired.
That's right,
and we're scrambling for ideas.
And as we mentioned earlier, the third film in a horrible animated kids series is the last. So it means that we'll never have to revisit this again.
And I mean, it also has to be titled number 3 as well.
It does.
That is the stipulation that whatever the title is, movie title number 3 in brackets. Some sort of antics.
Absolutely. Like, George Lucas went and did the fourth film in the Star Wars series first, so why not?
Yeah, but he had plans of making other ones. We're definitely bowing out after one.
Yeah, we can just say we have plans to make other ones and just never do them.
Lots of in-jokes in there to things that were never made. It's just like...
No character introductions either. It's just straight into the action. No names are given.
So here's the interesting one. We're going to have characters in number 3.
Yep.
That were introduced in number 2.
Yep.
So you have the core characters.
From 1.
And then we have the characters that are following through from number 2.
Yep.
And then we do the premise for number 3.
Which will have new characters as well. Because you can't... the third film in the Hotel Transylvania looks like it has new characters in it.
Yeah, I
guess.
The core group that are going on the holiday are from the previous 2 films.
Yeah.
And then you have like different antagonists and different sort of side characters here.
Now, one thing I do want to run by you as a production note, or something that we should do when it comes to casting this, is so Hotel Transylvania has Adam Sandler's crew, right?
Yes.
It's all of his mates and so on and so forth. I think we need to replicate that.
All right.
I think we need to find a group of actors, a group of notable actors who are always together.
Yeah.
And cast all of them in this film as well.
I like it. I really like it. Where I want to start is the premise.
Yes.
Strangely enough. Now, this is quite clearly a monster sort of... Are we doing a similar sort of thing, or are we taking maybe a piece of classic literature like Dracula?
I reckon I think we need to take a piece of classic literature and reboot it in a kid-friendly format. So it's not just the dark universe that can take old expired franchises and make them into something fresh. We can do that too, but make it for kids.
And we have experienced the Puppum's Odyssey.
We have.
Did this very, very thing.
We have indeed. But I think that we want to do a creature film.
Yeah, okay.
And I think we could go back to the old, Universal horror library, or we just go to a literary character. So I think Frankenstein's monster has been done in animated form.
I would imagine Frankenstein probably also appears in the Hotel Transylvania at some point.
Actually, no, you're probably right. I think it does appear in that. What else is available from a literary point of view?
What about like Robinson Crusoe?
Robinson Crusoe, yeah. Not a book I've read. So
I have not read it either.
Great.
But like the basic premise of like a group of people stranded on an island somewhere could be an interesting one. I mean, Swiss Family Robinson has that sort of feel to it as well.
Yep.
I was going to say Treasure Island in a way of kind of forgetting that Puppum's Odyssey was completely based off the Muppets Treasure Island.
I was going to say Lord of the Flies as well.
Lord of the Flies, interesting.
I don't think that's in public domain.
But there was the film, was it Battle Royale? which was sort of somewhat based on Lord of the Flies.
Yes.
And is somewhat sort of like a popular video game style at the moment.
And then kind of inspired the Hunger Games partially as well.
Exactly. There was Predators, where they're all like stranded on a planet and they have to survive. Why don't we take that sort of like and do a kids film that is a murder survival game on an isolated island. But this time it's a kids film.
Yeah. So non-lethal, I guess. Maybe? Or do they?
I don't know. Hunger Games is for kids/young adults.
Is it though? Yeah, it's young adults.
It is young adult.
Hotel Transylvania really has its eyes on the, I would say, 5 to 12-year-old market, and then also the parents that are forced to go along and see them. So I think we should aggressively target that sort of.
Okay. So it's a bit more fun and wacky than blood and gutsy. Yeah. Although maybe we take a page from Eli Roth's book. And maybe there's an Eli Roth director's cut for adults.
Yep. We do the Guillermo del Toro, Eli Roth kind of director's cut version as well. And when we sell it on DVD or Blu-ray, right? Both versions.
Exactly.
You have 2 discs, 1 disc with the kids version, 1 disc with the uncut, raw adult version of it, and that way, 2 for the price of 1.
I've kind of always felt as though they should be able to do it like you download the one file, and built into that file are edit points of which order to play the scenes and where to cut it short. So maybe it's just like, I mean, you say discs. I think by the time this comes out, it's all going to be in the cloud and on the streaming services. And there's just like, you know how at the start of Netflix you can log into the regular profile or the kids profile. You log into the kids profile, it's got certain data of what bits are missing, and it plays through like a kids film. And if you log into the adult profile and it plays through, it has all of those gory disembowelments that you were looking for.
Excellent. All right, that sounds fantastic. So, island, some kind of force or some kind of antagonist who is attacking a group of
I think there's a like a Truman, again, we go to Truman Show quite a lot, an evil overlord mastermind who has put them all in a situation, and now they're forced to hunt and kill one another. So there might be groups of 4, and it's all sort of like they don't want to, but at some sort of point they're forced for a survival, psychological survival, which again is cut from the kids' version of the film, to do very, very nasty things to one another. The decision here is, do we go Madagascar-style animals? Do we go Transylvania-style monsters? Do we go, what are the other ones? Car-style inanimate objects that have been brought to life?
Yeah, I think it can't. The only stipulation is that it shouldn't be human. So we know that like anthropomorphic things do well. So Zootopia, Cars, Hotel Transylvania. Well, I mean, that's kind of humanoid.
Minions, which are just yellow Tic Tacs. Who look like it just slapstick Marx Brothers, Three Stooges sort of style.
So I think we need to do some kind of object or animal or creature as our collection of.
I think animals gives us like a wider scope, and then you can sort of have like the groups like sort of like the carnivores and the herbivores, and sort of like and that way they get to sort of be broken up a little bit. I think there's a bit in Madagascar where the lion and the zebra, who've always sort of been best of friends, are now in a jungle scenario, and they can't help but give in to their animal nature of like the lion wanting to eat and kill this other animal. So maybe we sort of do that sort of thing as well.
Love it. And I also like the idea of like, we have aquatic animals, but they're just stranded in a small pond somewhere on the island. So they can't do anything.
They're just not involved. Just like,
no, they're involved, but I mean, they just have to wait. Like, they're just perpetually waiting.
Their time. They're the camping strats. That's right. That everyone seems to hate so much in video games.
I mean, this does feel like a very video gamey concept. So this bodes well for our merchandise tie-ins, because we can make the licensed movie game as well. And we'll just skin some game that already does the same thing. So there's no point having to like go through and actually make a game engine and all the code. No, we'll just reskin an existing game and be done with it.
And it's your favorite animated kids characters as they brutally slaughter one another for supremacy.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and again, we can do the same thing with the game. You log in to play the game. If you're a kid, you only get the kids version. If you're an adult, you get the full gory dismemberment version of it. Great. Okay, so are we going to set this? What type of animals should we do? So I think like we've kind of done jungly animals, because like the Puppums are very jungle-based animals.
Sure.
Perhaps we should do different kinds of animals instead. So we could do
Yeah, you say not jungle animals, and I'm like, city animals? Pigeons and cats?
Well, it could be that. It could just be city creatures.
I think it's a remote island, though, so
Well, hang on. What about representations from every single region?
All right, okay, so
we have the jungle animals, we have the city scavenger animals, we have the Arctic animals, we have...
Yeah, no, I think maybe pick a continent or a zone.
Yep.
And then in very Hunger Games style, each continent has to send a tribute to the islands to participate in this game.
Yeah.
And Africa always wins because it always sends like the big hunty lions and cheetahs. And Asia used to have their tigers, but now the tigers are extinct and
they've only got pandas left.
Yeah, exactly. Even the pandas just sort of sitting around doing nothing.
Yep.
Europe has maybe wolves and elk or something like
that.
Foxes, yeah. Where we're going farthing
badgers.
These are all the characters from KNIGHTS now.
But there's more now.
Yeah, the Arctic sort of sending through their polar bears and penguins.
We've got a huge collection of weird animals.
I really like this idea.
Okay. Yeah, I love this. And it can be like the new type of Olympic Games as well.
That's an interesting one as well, yeah.
So this is almost a sports film
as well. Almost a sports film. Almost
film.
A kid's film. Almost an action film.
All right, so we have representation. So what are they going to come across? Is it just like an all-out battle royale? They get placed on sort of areas around this region separately, and they just have to fend for themselves.
Exactly. And I've actually just come up with a really new idea. You know how in some films where the news reporter cuts to a news report and it's like, it shows the Sydney Harbour Bridge in the version or it shows like the Leaning Tower if it's the Italian version.
Yep.
When you log into Mephisowitada, depending on what geolocation you log in from, depends on which group of animals you follow through the main plot of the film.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So if you log in from Australia, you follow the koala and the kangaroo and the emu.
Yep.
If you log in from the US, you follow the grizzly bear and the wolverine and the moose,
snow leopards.
And if you log in from Asia, you've got the tiger and the panda and the
howler monkey.
Yeah, sure. And that way
this is great. And also, we don't need to all we need to do is write one script.
Exactly.
We don't need to write completely different scripts for all these different groups. We just write the same script, make it super generic, like most kids' films are.
Exactly.
Jam it full of jokes that whoever our crew, what we're gonna have to do as well. So you know how I was talking about getting the actors' crew for the voice cast. Well, for each country, for each region, we're going to have to get that country's acting posse together.
So here's a really weird thing that I found out that so Will Smith, for example.
Yep.
In all of Will Smith's films in Germany, the guy who dubs over with Will Smith's voice does that dubbing for every single film.
Yeah.
Because it would be weird otherwise, right? So it'd be weird if you saw a film where Will Smith had one voice and you went and then watched, Enemy of the State, and then later on watching Men in Black and he's got a completely different voice.
Yep.
So each of these voice actors' careers is completely contingent on the success or failure of someone completely separate. So the guy who's been doing Tom Cruise has had a phenomenal success as a voice actor. He may be really bad, but he was just lucky enough to do the voice in Tom Cruise's first film and has been riding the coattails ever since.
Yep.
Whereas, if the guy who was like, I get to voice over Shia LaBeouf, and he's like, I'm going to have the most fantastic career ever, and then suddenly he's in these sporadic weird indie films and it goes off. It's like, oh, I've done the voice of Lindsay Lohan and she was in Mean Girls. My career's set. And then she's just absolutely tanks it. And this German voiceover artist is just like, what's going on with my life? I have no control over this.
Yep.
So I think we just cast the American Hollywood people. Then whoever happens, I'm sure the Adam Sandler voiceover guy and the Kevin James voiceover guy and the David Spade voiceover guy are just as good friends as Adam Sandler, Kevin James, and David Spade. Because they have to do all of the same films together
Are we assuming that the voice actors who voice these movie stars in other countries kind of live parallel lives as well?
Parallel lives. When Lindsay Lohan got hooked on drugs, the voiceover person in Korea, who was the Lindsay Lohan, also had to get herself hooked on drugs and have a similar meltdown.
So the Will Smith voice actor in Japan is married to the Jada Pinkett Smith,
and
the
he
voice
has
actor in
two
Japan
completely obnoxious kids who are so talentless and yet so part of the media consciousness that it's obscene.
Oh man, so So, and they would have had to they had a kid who went on to star in the Japanese version of the Karate Kid.
Exactly.
And then somehow become a worse actor by starring in After Earth.
Yes. Yeah, it's a complete parallel there. So,
right,
we really just need to come up with our...
So just one motley crew, and then we just got to find what happens in English-speaking countries then? Because they don't dub Will Smith for Australia.
No, they don't.
Or do they?
I don't. I've never actually thought about it.
What we're going to have to do is whatever... So obviously, because we're English speaking, English is our language, whoever we cast... is going to English will be the main language. So for all the other regions, our English voice actor will have to then dub the film again in the accent for any given region. Yep. So if we cast Will Smith, we might as well cast Will Smith at this point. But if we cast Will Smith, he'll do the film in his normal voice, and then he'll have to do the Australian dub, and then the British dub, and then the Canadian dub.
Maybe I think we just do North American.
North American.
Maybe.
Okay. Yep.
There's another really cool story that I like about voice dubbing where they did Terminator 2 and Arnold Schwarzenegger is like, I speak German, I can just do the dubbing for the German version.
Yep.
And they're like, yeah, no, you're from Austria and when you speak German you sound like a country farmer. And I'll be back. I come with me if you want to live. So
no, I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine. I totally, if Will Smith can't do an Australian accent or does a really bad one, I'm fine with that. He just so long as he does it, for the English speaking regions. For every other region, whoever dubs his voice, they can do it.
So we need to come up with our crew.
Yes, we do.
Who are those crews? We've got the guys who did Workaholics who have been in a few things. They sort of have a crew.
The ex-SNL folks who kind of band together and make
there's a whole bunch of different groups of them depending on the year that they graduated. So you've got your Adam Sandlers and David Spaders and Kevin Jameses, and then you sort of have a Will Ferrell sort of era with bits and pieces, and then you've even got Andy Samberg and Bill Hader sort of have a bunch of Amy Poehler and Tina Fey and all those sort of people in that sort of era as well. Then you even have the Brat Pack, so your Rob Lowe's and Emilio Estevez's and Charlie Sheen's.
Well, that's it. Yeah, we can just go for fictional posses as well. So the Reservoir Dogs group. What are they doing these days? Well, one of them was Steve Buscemi as well.
Steve Buscemi and Harvey Keitel.
And I forgot the main guy, Shannon. Who was the main character in that film?
Mr. Pink. Mr. Blue.
Yeah.
Vinny Vega or whatever.
Yeah. What's the actor's name though?
Exactly.
I've totally forgotten. So yeah, we could go for a fictional crew as well, but just get them back together to do this new animated film.
Interesting. I don't know. I suppose there's so much choice.
There is. Because we can also dig up our old friends, the Ocean's crew, as well.
Exactly.
Bring them back for another one.
Are they actually friends in real life? Or?
I think Clooney and Pitt sort of are, and you know,
Matt Damon. Even Matt Damon, you could probably get Affleck along pretty easily.
We'll get the what's that? Oh, I forgot the name of that film.
Good Will
Hunting crew back to Minnie Driver.
And if Ben Affleck's coming along, Casey will just tag along as well. So.
Yep. Okay.
Hang
on. Actually, I know. I've got the idea. You know how we're always talking about how there's 1,000 Skarsgårds?
Yes.
Let's just cast the Skarsgårds. Every single one of them. So we've got Alexander, Peter,
Stellan.
Sure.
Stellan's the dad.
Is there a Bjorn Skarsgård?
It could be. Could be a lot of... I think maybe we do the Skarsgårds to voice the Arctic animals.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm still thinking I'm thinking a younger crew, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
You'd sort of teen Disney kind of people.
Oh, yeah.
Selena Gomez is in Hotel Transylvania 3.
Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
Who else was in... Who else is one of those Disney stars from
Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears. Aguilera.
I mean, they're hardly young these days.
Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake are all Mickey Mouse Club alum.
Yeah, but they're all pushing 40, 45 now, aren't they?
I actually kind of like your idea of picking a film, and even if they're not real life best buds, then we can do that. The Goonies comes to mind, but I don't really like the idea of the Goonies just because we've done that before.
Yep.
Is there a film in there somewhere where there's a group of people who are supposedly friends, but probably not actually friends.
Oh yeah, it would be great if we just find a film where in the film they're great friends, but outside of it, like they were absolutely hating it. We could also bring back the Lord of the Rings fellowship as well.
Oh, okay, yeah, I think you've done it. I think we get Elijah Wood, we get Sean Astin, Billy Boyd, and Dominic Monaghan.
Yep.
And then we can even get Orlando Bloom and John Rhys Davies and so Ian McKellen and Viggo Mortensen and Sean Bean.
Yep. Perfect.
Yeah, Kate Blanchett. You know, you think Kate Blanchett's not going to be in a weird kids film. I beg to differ. The house with clocks in its walls. Hugo Weaving,
Liv Tyler.
Liv Tyler.
Yeah, let's just get the entire Lord of the Rings cast because I love those guys.
David Wenham. David Wenham's up for anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Miranda Otto.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an international cast. It's an ensemble cast. Bernard Hill. Yeah. The guy that played Denethor. And Wormtongue. Who was also in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, okay. He was, with an orderly in that film. Was he at some
stage?
No,
he was a patient.
Was a patient.
He was one of the patients, yeah.
I really like the guy who plays Denethor. So
he's an Australian actor.
He is an Australian actor. He was in Fringe with a few people as well.
That's right. He was also in the video game L.A. Noire as himself.
Yes, we know what he's in, but we don't know his name. I feel like it's John or something like that.
John sounds... He looks like a John, doesn't he?
He does.
Hang on. The Academy is telling me it's John Noble.
John Noble.
I love that guy. He's a great character actor too.
Exactly.
And he does accents really well because he is Australian. So he has an Australian accent.
He has a really good American accent.
He can nail an American accent. Nails a British accent too. Oh, he's perfect. All right, great. So, so the only person we can't get is Saruman. Sir Christopher Lee, unfortunately. But we'll put some kind of Easter egg in there.
You know who else I really want for this film?
Yeah.
Who ties in perfectly?
Yeah.
It's a soundtrack done by Enya.
All right, so she only did like one song for the Fellowship.
It doesn't matter.
But we're going to get her to do the entire soundtrack.
Move over, Howard Shaw. It's all. I mean, I don't even know if we get her to do the soundtrack or we just use Enya's songs for the entire soundtrack.
So we don't. Yeah. So okay. So we just use her existing back catalogue.
Exactly.
So how many times is Orinoco Flow going to appear in our soundtrack?
I'm as many times as there are people sailing away. I can't actually think of any of their other songs. Like
I'm sure she has others.
I'm sure she does, and we'll find out as we do more research for this film. All right. So it's a kids animated battle royale representation of all the continents, starring the ensemble cast of Lord of the Rings as they fight for supremacy of an island. Now, okay, so we've come up with the plot.
Yep.
And the very, very important thing we said at the start of this was it was the third installment of an existing franchise.
Yeah, so we take the Lord of the Rings example, right? So part one was about forming the Fellowship and then figuring out what the whole point of it was. The second one was like the journey there, and the third one was the conclusion to the journey. So this is where the Battle Royale starts. Like, this is where all the nations have decided, you know what, this is it. We can't handle it anymore. This is the only solution. Battle Royale. And so we just start right in the middle of the Royale.
All right, so who are the characters from the original franchise?
Yep.
Who did we get in part 2?
Yep.
And who's new additions for part 3?
All right, so new additions for part 3.
I reckon we follow the Australia. So, I mean, we've got enough Australian actors in there.
Yep.
That for all intents and purposes, we are following the Australian animals and their characters along the way.
So they were the OG characters. So the first film.
Kangaroo, wombat, and emu. I think.
Platypus.
Platypus, I think, maybe shows up as a bit of a wild card.
Yeah.
Platypus and Echidna, the monotremes, show up in number 2, as like the sort of like kooky, wild sort of a few screws loose, but lots of fun to be around. But the core gang of Roo, Emu, and Wombat have been there all along. And then we start getting real granular with number 3 as just like frillneck lizard and cassowary. And cassowary and emu just don't get along because they're both super tall, super dangerous birds.
We'll also get wallaby, which is visually very similar to a kangaroo.
Exactly, and there's all this sort of friction. You might even get the sort of like the quokka. And it's just like, that's just even a smaller
and we
wallaby.
only put the quokka in because the quokka has sort of taken off recently because it's sort of appeared in a lot of social media, because it's really friendly and takes a lot of photos with people. So obviously that's the one we put into the third film because everyone likes it right now. No one knew about it like when we made the first film. So we can absolutely put it in the third film. I love it. I love this idea. All right. Who else is... Do we need to figure out anyone else that's coming in for the third film?
I don't think... Maybe we just... we know it's going to be the last film and it's real stacks on. So originally, we just got the original core hobbits, and then in the second film, we had to sort of start adding in, the Fellowship.
Yep.
And then by the end, it's Carl Urban's just where's my role? And suddenly it's okay, frillneck lizard, or eastern grey-nosed wombat. It's you've already got a wombat. Yeah, but he's a southern brown wombat. You can be eastern grey-nosed.
Yep. All right. All right. I love this. All right, so the last thing we need to cap off this trilogy of one is a title for this saga.
I think so.
Now, do we go again? Do we take inspiration from the Lord of... Now, the one thing we won't take from Lord of the Rings is the lack of a numbering system for the titles of the film.
Absolutely.
But do we go for the whatever 3 colon subtitle?
Absolutely,
okay,
colon,
brilliant.
The final showdown or the final count, or whatever it happens to be.
Okay, so what are we going to call this? So this is animals, it's animated, it's a battle royale, it's...
Survival of the Fittest.
Survival of the Fittest. Survival of the Fittest 3, colon...
Yeah, okay. So is maybe the Survival of the Fittest comes after the colon.
Okay, so that's the subtitle.
It's something 3, Survival of the Fittest.
Yep.
And we go with... So, were the first 2 battle royales, or were they just kind of buddy sort of survival things?
Well, it's kind of leading to battle royale. So in the same way that Lord of the Rings leads to the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but it was a bit more of a hero's journey.
Yeah.
We're going sort of Australia. It could be sort of Walkabout, or... I think Walkabout is actually an Australian film from the 70s, so maybe we can't do that.
Yep.
Maybe go... maybe it's something to do with evolution.
Yep.
Maybe it's something to do with...
I like the evolution idea, but we can't call it evolution because that was a comedy film that was released in the 90s with...
David Duchovny.
Julianne Moore. And Julianne Moore. Quite a good film, actually.
First film I ever owned on DVD.
Oh, there you go. Mine was Shrek.
Maybe the franchise is called Natural Selection.
Natural Selection 3.
Survival of the Fittest.
Yep. That's perfect. Now...
Although, to be fair, and I'm going to throw a spanner in the works, I think number 2 was probably called Survival of the Fittest. Okay. So, Natural Selection, and then Natural Selection 2, Survival of the Fittest.
Natural Selection 3, the final choice, the final selection.
Yeah, I mean, it has to really go Island Vacation. It's
Yeah, that's true, actually. So, we need to inject levity into what is actually the final film in a very epic trilogy.
Exactly. So if we're going natural selection and we're going the Darwin sort of theory, maybe the Galapagos Islands sort of come into it a little bit.
That's where it could be set.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we set it on the Galapagos Islands.
Yep. And so Natural Selection 2, Survival of the Fittest.
Yep.
Natural Selection 3, Galapagos. Galapagation. That doesn't sound anything like vacation. Vacation galops? Galapagos Getaway.
I love it because the alliteration.
But also they're trying to get away, and so there's a double meaning for getaway.
Yes.
So Natural Selection 2, Survival of the Fittest.
Natural Selection 3. Galapagos Getaway. Great. I love it. Stay tuned for that. The final film in the trilogy.
Definitely properly 3D animated. We guarantee Hollywood.
100%. Yep.
We did this properly this time.
That's right.
Please nominate.
Are we going for the Oscars this year for this film?
I think we're going with the Oscars for every film.
For every film? Okay, brilliant. We're going to have to contend with The Incredibles 2, but that's fine. We have 3 in our name. Surely that will win us awards.
Exactly.
Return of the King was the only film that actually won a substantial amount of Academy Awards when it came out.
Exactly. I mean, you say substantial amount. I think it is the most equal with Titanic and Ben-Hur.
Yeah, that's true.
And not even the best film in the franchise.
No, it's not.
I think they were just holding out, going, we can either give them all to number 1, all to number 2, or all to number 3.
Yeah.
And
well, I think they were more like, the first one's really good, but can we really give the Academy Award to this action-adventure fantasy film? That's never been done before. And then they finally relented when the third one came out. Having said that, the third film in a series is no indicator that will win awards, because I'm pretty sure The Godfather 3 won nothing.
Thank you, Sofia Coppola.
Okay, I think that's a wrap.
I think it is. Any housekeeping this week, AJ?
Yes, housekeeping as per usual. We are online. We are moviefilmstudios.net, where you can find all of our previous episodes, some bios of yours truly and my colleague over across from me, and Mufuzawudada, where you can find every single film that we've ever released or ever created, all the plot synopses for them, and everyone we've cast in them as well. We are on Facebook, where we post emoji clues as to the trailers we've watched on next week's episode. How are you going to do with this one?
I think we'll do fine. It's a bit of a different sort of format that I'm doing for the clues. Anyone that sort of... So this week we had tag, and I did have the emoji clue of a tag, which is fine, but then also additional clues of the plot of the film sort of to follow, so people chasing after one another.
Yep.
I did the same thing there with action point, which was an explosion and a finger pointing. Yep. Action point, obviously.
Quite good.
But then lots of carnival rides, and then an emoji face with bandages, which is, again, the plot of the film. So additional clues to help you along the way. Just get involved.
Confuse you.
Have some fun with your responses.
Yes.
It's just a bit of fun.
Yes, indeed. We are also on Twitter, where it really just looks like a bot.
We'll get there someday.
We will absolutely get there one day. And we're on Podbean, we're on YouTube, and on iTunes as well. So if you like anything that we do, feel free to give us a like on any of those particular platforms, and tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog. If they're going to listen to it and they can give us a download number, absolutely get them to do it. And I believe that is it.
That is it. So all that remains is to thank you all for listening once again this week. I've been Isaac.
And I've been AJ.
Roll credits.
Watch